Dan, we are getting ready for a big week and weekend, huh?
Yes, we are. Are you ready?
I'm always ready.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Which means you haven't even prepared anything.
Nah, I haven't done a thing. Yeah, so this weekend is the big Paul Bunyan show in Cambridge, Ohio, and it has become an unofficial YouTube mecca. It brings YouTube channels from far and wide.
Yeah, it's the granddaddy of them
And I
all.
guess you and me, yeah, and you and me will be one of them, I guess.
Two of them.
Two
Yes.
of them.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah, I will be making an appearance at the Yappa Metza Machine tent from 12 to 2. The big important thing is that they only allow in excellent YouTube channels, and only the best of the best could possibly be the Yappa tent, the Metza Machine tent on Saturday. So tell me, Dan, where are you going to be?
I will be at the Metza tent in the Yappa booth on Saturday at 10 a.m. until noon.
Yeah.
Yes.
I knew you were going to be there. I was just
I
trying to be funny. That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, so come on out and see us. We will be there back to back.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I'll be there by then. I still have to get up in the morning, and so my Fridays are always problematic, at least since this has been going on, because it's break weekend for the colleges, and I got to go pick up my one daughter who lives out of town, and I can't be two places at the same time.
Yeah, you're always running around this time, around Bunyan time.
Yeah, geez. Yeah, putting a lot of miles on the car. I've only in the past, I've just come like on one day, like Saturday. But maybe this weekend I'll try to make it back again on Sunday. I've never been there on a Sunday. Is it worth it, or does everyone like leave early and there's no one ever there?
I actually find Sunday morning to be a really good time to just get in there. It's not too busy. You can, if you haven't seen anything by then, you can, make your way around and see everything. I usually do a live stream Sunday morning from the grounds, from the
Uh-huh.
fairgrounds.
Oh wow.
So yeah, Sundays are kind of nice, and it's quiet, but it's just I don't know. It's a different atmosphere. It's not as busy, so I kind of like that.
Well, I th- I think the Paul Bunyan show is very strict on the vendors, the exhibitors. They don't let them leave early, I think, though, now come to think of it.
No.
So maybe they do have to stay through the day, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. How's the food lines on Sunday?
Um, I don't even remember, because usually what I end up doing is I will usually get there in the morning, and then I gotta head out usually right around noon to go. This year I'm driving back to Columbus to catch my flight, so I usually head out
Oh
around
boy.
before I have to eat, and then I grab something before I get to the airport.
And even though we're in Ohio and things are always subject to change when it comes to the weather, the forecast looks awesome.
Yeah.
Mid 70s and dry. Yeah.
However, I am coming to town, so there could be rain, a rain shower that pops up somewhere.
All right. Well, we want to welcome everyone back to the Woodhounds podcast. And if you haven't heard this before, we are the number one firewood podcast in the world.
Yes, we are. And we are available on all streaming services out there. So catch us every week, usually Wednesday mornings at 5 a.m. Central or Eastern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eastern, Central,
Eastern.
they're all the same. Yeah.
Yeah, all these time zones.
All right. Yeah.
Well, Joe, so I got to ask you, I caught you made an appearance last weekend at the Over 50 Summit. I forget the exact name of it.
Career Summit.
Career Summit. You were the keynote
Mhm.
speaker, and I got to say, I was
I
very
was.
impressed with your presentation. I really found it
I'm sure you
interesting.
say that. I'm sure you say that to all the boys.
Yeah, all the keynote speakers that I know, I usually say that to. but but I like the fact that your intro or your title of your presentation was "Stop asking me for my advice." And I just want to know, I have something to ask you some advice on.
You got to stop it. You have to stop asking me for my advice.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you for tuning into that, Dan, because I was a little self conscious about it. And I was on stage and all the eyes were on me. And I am a person who runs the risk of losing his train of thought at any time. Uh, I'm the one that will be talking to you about nuclear fission concepts, and then I see a squirrel run by, and then I'm talking about a good donut shop in Wyoming. So I was on edge the entire time, and I did not lose my train of thought one single time. And did you happen to notice too that I was winging it? I did not have any notes or an outline or anything.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. I noticed you had no notes. You were not following a PowerPoint presentation. You were just up there, and
No.
I could not notice that you were winging it. I was impressed. I was pretty impressed with your delivery. It was just right on.
Yeah. Yeah, I winged it, but it sounds challenging, but it really isn't because I'm just telling the story of how it all happened. But I was spinning it into not just about me, but the effect that I have learned that I'm having on others around me, even if I didn't want to or ever considered it happening. It's true. And I was talking about how I evolved over time with people asking me for my opinions or my advice. And how I at first was flattered by this, and I would have these lengthy discussions with people. But then I started noticing certain things. I guess you'd have to watch the whole keynote speech to understand all this. But the ultimate reason why behind my title of the presentation was because I didn't want to run the risk of talking people out of chasing their dreams, which I have spoken of in the past. Is there are a lot of people out there looking to derail you from where you're going.
Yes, the what ifers. What if this? What
Yeah,
if
the what
that?
ifers.
Yep.
Yeah. I can think of a number of what ifers that I had run up against, and they would just wear you out. I think that they're well intended, but to them, that is how they can contribute by looking at all the things that could possibly go wrong. And for some of them, it's not just the fact that they're finding what ifs, but it's how their voice inflects while they're saying it, which really can just beat a person down. I can still like, where are you going to get your logs? What are you going to do when you break your leg? What are you going to do when your truck breaks down? What are you going to do? And
Yep.
from my experiences is that when you are in the planning phase, that is enough for a person to say, the heck with it, versus a person who is all in and they're going for it. These are just minor inconveniences, minor problems to solve. Every problem has a solution.
And that's kind of like what your message was. If you have the idea, if you know what you want to do, go for it. Stop asking for opinions, because that's just kind of like setting yourself up to find an excuse not to do something.
Yeah, I do believe too. I addressed this that I think a lot of people do this because they are not serious about starting, or they're wishy washy and they're looking for a good excuse to not get started. And my position is, and this is in the arena of a person who is turning their side hustle or their hobby into a full-time career. My position is you don't need anyone's advice other than, you need your significant others, the key stakeholders, which you could probably count on one hand, people who would be affected if you lose your house
Yeah.
or if you're bumming $20 off of them for gas. That those are the people I'm talking about. But like asking your friends, asking coworkers or other, I just tell you, quit asking for people's advice. You don't need it. You're just you're just going to make things even harder on yourself. The best thing that you can do is get started and then don't stop.
Get started and figure it out along the way.
Yeah.
Yep.
You and me had addressed this before with your recent firewood enterprise, your small wood sales. I had asked you directly when you were looking at getting started, because I did it too. When I was looking at getting started, I was asking my friends, and I said this in my presentation. I asked my one friend, I says, "Hey, bud, I'm thinking about splitting my career and selling firewood." And he looked me right in the eye and he was mocking my idea. He said, "Yeah," he says, "I got a guy down the street that sells firewood and he has 3 washing machines in his front yard." he was,
Yeah.
yeah, he was just, this is who you're going to turn into was what he was telling me. But I remember I asked you and I says, "Dan, did you ask your friends?" And you said, "Yes." I says, "Did you have any of them that kind of beat you down after you asked them?" And you said, "Yes."
Yes. Yep. Definitely. And that's kind of the motivation that I use, though, because if everyone was telling me no and everyone was saying, no, this isn't going to work, it kind of drove me to make it work and make it happen and prove them
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to be motivated like that. That is some of the best ways to live your life. If you
Yeah.
got fired from work by a jerk boss, if your girlfriend dumped you, if your teacher flunked you in class, the best way to get revenge is by living well, you know?
Right. Well, and the other thing too is, you can only ask for like, general advice from someone if you're doing something new like I was doing. Like I had to figure it out on my own. Like I didn't know what size boxes would be best. I ordered a couple samples of different sizes. I tested them out. I saw how much cubic inches one held, what size wood fit best in them, how it was going to package. There's all these things that I think
Yeah.
people always want to just know the answers to, but sometimes you have to figure it out on your own. What's going to work best for you?
And that also gets to me in the whole foundation of Ohio Woodburner and value added firewood was I did take the steps to look at firewood in the industry and how people around here sell firewood. And I just concluded that that is not a sustainable way of making a living with volume. I'm a sole proprietor. I can't do volume. I can't make a living by selling a cord of firewood with a $50 profit. If you do the math there, math is one of my strong points, I quickly figured out that I wouldn't be able to do this. So I looked around, and I didn't see anyone selling firewood at margin like what I do. And it finally came down to another friend of mine, which made me realize that I could develop a market in my area. Because this market, and I get a lot of comments about people that see the way that I sell firewood, and they say, I could never do that where I live because there's not a market for it. And I would say, well, there wasn't a market in my area either. And that's because none of the other firewood companies out there sell firewood the way I do. And this idea finally came to me when we were at a friend's house for a holiday party. He has this big house. Good gosh, where do people get all this money? This enormous house with this huge great room and a big vaulted ceiling. And the one end of it is this gigantic fireplace. And it's like one of those stone ones that go all the way up the side, all the way up to the roof.
Yep.
And he never uses it. And we were talking about it, and he says that, they would buy firewood and they were getting garbage and mud and mulch. The guy came in a dump truck and leaked about a quart of oil on his brand new concrete. He's very particular, you know. And he said his wife wouldn't let him order firewood anymore because it was just too much of a hassle. It was just junking their house up. And that's when I began to think, okay, if it's this guy, I know there's others out there, that don't want a big quart of firewood in their garage or up against their house. They just want small quantities with a world-class delivery model. And that's where I started thinking, there is a market for this. I just need to go out and get it.
You need to find it, or you need to build it.
I do.
Yeah,
Just like small firewood.
right.
Um, I mean, what the heck? Your market never existed.
Well, in not in my area, and not. I mean, there were distributors and suppliers of it out there, but I think the emergence of these tabletop fire pits really helped kind of develop a market for
Uh huh.
small wood. But yeah, and it's just the whole, like you said, if there isn't a market, build it, make it. Because
Yeah.
I've heard that too. Like, well, there's no market for selling small wood over here. Or there's no market for selling, bundles only in my area. Nobody buys bundles only.
Mm-hmm. And why? And probably the reason they don't is because no one is selling them.
Yeah, nobody has them for
Yeah.
sale.
Yeah. So after that experience at that at that party, I started thinking, well, what would it be that this type of homeowner would look for in a firewood service? And it was uh, amplified to me on a delivery I had north of me, and this was out of my area. So up north of me, out in the middle of the country, out in the farmlands, there is a private lake community, and there are some big houses out there. And I got a call from this retired gentleman, and he was looking for firewood. And I said, I said, I'll be honest with you, you're kind of out of my area. I would prefer not. He said, and he told me what was going on. He was looking for firewood. He All of the guys up there that were delivering firewood had a 2 cord minimum. And he said, there's two problems. Number one, I don't want that much firewood. And when I try to tell these guys that, they won't even listen to what I'm trying to tell them. He says, I will gladly pay you, a lot of money for less firewood. I cannot have that much firewood around my house. And I told him, I says, well, ironically, I don't deliver cords anyways. The most I deliver are halves. So he ordered a half a cord. And when I went to deliver it, uh, he paid me more than what would have had to pay for a 2 cord minimum from the other guys. He says, this is the problem. He says, with your industry, he wasn't being a jerk about it. He was just laughing. He said, this is the problem with your industry. He says, these guys out here are just looking for cords, cords, cords. They do not listen to what the customer wants. They're only worried about what they need.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Volume, volume, volume. Pump out as much
Yeah.
firewood as you can, and the only way to make money is to deliver, more and more cords. Cords, cords, cords.
Yeah. Well, he said, I told the guy, he says, if you would bring me just a quarter of what you want to bring me, I will pay you for it. And he's like, they wouldn't even, nope, two cord minimum, 2 cord minimum. Yeah. So that is the foundation of what I do. That market never existed out here, at least where I am. And I'm just here to tell you, I've never once advertised. And, word gets around. When it was like the first restaurant I delivered to, it's like all the restaurants talked. And then my phone started ringing because there was a reliable person that could bring them firewood that would actually burn.
Yeah.
That wasn't, a big stump that was unsplit. And then the same thing with homeowners. Once word got out that, these people, they have friends and neighbors and stuff, and it took that one delivery, and then the next thing I know, I'm off to the races.
Yep. And that's one other thing with generally the suppliers who just deliver cords only, they're not focused in on the size of their splits. And I remember I had a comment way back when I first started getting into the smaller wood and the smaller splits, and the guy said, that is a waste of time because if I deliver my firewood and the customer wants it smaller, they can split it themselves.
Yeah.
And it's like, there you
Mm-hmm.
go. There's a prime example of whoever was in that guy's area could easily probably go in and find people who want smaller split firewood and build a market right there.
Yeah. And then that also, I think, exhibits the overlying attitude and what that one customer was telling me. that, I mean, business is problem solving. The customers have a problem and they're asking you to solve it for them. But he was saying, that the firewood guys out there, their deliveries make sense to them. They're not customer focused.
Yep.
It's their firewood, and you will get what I make, and that's it.
Oh, you will get it how I bring it to you. No questions
Yeah,
asked.
yeah. But I had a recent email too, real sincere. He was just, I think, frustrated with prices on his supply and what his profit margins are, and that his area doesn't have a market for value added firewood. And my reply is, I'm sure that there isn't one, and it's because no one is serving it.
Yeah.
That market did not exist where I am right now. I am probably one of the few firewood people that will deliver a bundle to a house or a sixth of a cord. I specialize in small quantities, but then that also gets back to also where people think, and that's the way, like the people that sell bulk out here, you can buy a half of a cord, which is the price of a full cord divided by two. And that's not how I sell, because there's a value in smaller quantities,
Yep. Yeah.
which we've been down this road a lot. But that is all about building your market, because no one wants to sell a sixth of a cord of firewood, because they would think, well, that's, if you're selling a cord for $200, you got to divide it by six, and that's all. I'm not going to drive out there for that much money. And that's because you need to price it accordingly, and that's how you develop your market. And that's why people are willing to spend money for a smaller quantity, because of that convenience and because of that value. So if the market does not exist in your area, that is on you to create it and go get it.
There you go. Yes, I agree.
Just like your small firewood. And then your market is bigger than mine because you're worldwide, man.
Well, continental U.S. shipping only.
Yeah. Well, that's the world.
Well, to a degree, I guess. 48
Yeah.
states. 48 states. Yeah.
48 states. Well, why can't you send it to Hawaii? Are there like strict
Uh,
rules there or something?
I guess I would have to look into what the shipping cost would be, because that would make it to where I might be shipping it for and losing money.
Yeah. Well, I think too, I don't know about Alaska, but I think Hawaii is like, they got very strict rules for inbound stuff.
Yeah, coming in.
So,
Yep.
yeah. Uh-huh. Because they're very cautious about invasive species or fungi or whatever.
Right. Or just
Funguses.
woodhound mania sweeping the island.
Do you have any followers from Hawaii, do you know? Has
Yes,
any
there
of them
is.
registered on your website?
Yep, there is actually a dot on the map. The woodhound map of the world has a dot on Hawaii.
Oh wow. That is another, we were wondering about New York City and firewood delivery there. I wonder what it's like if there's a firewood industry in Hawaii.
Yeah, I don't. There's got to be for all the
Oh.
luau's and barbecues they're doing. They got to be the tiki torches are burning. Something's on fire.
Yeah, we'll have to ask Andrew Easton or Chris Wolf or Bob Nelson, if they've ever sold a splitter to Hawaii. Interesting. Now, I did hear when I was in Florida, I visited that one firewood company. What I thought palm trees was firewood, but I guess they're not. Palm trees, I guess, are technically grass, and all they do is smoke bad.
Huh. Even in a smokeless fire pit.
If you put a palm tree in a smokeless fire pit, you might go back in time.
I have seen though. I think that the wood is real, like it's just all fibers and it's like real stringy and
Yeah.
doesn't even split. And it's like twisted.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, nasty
I'll
stuff.
stick I'll stick to Ohio. Why not?
There you go.
That Hawaii, that's overrated out there.
Yeah, well, they probably have the same type of tree that's in Australia, so it can't be split anyway.
Yeah. I saw some comments over the weekend from, well, that log splitter couldn't split Australian hardwoods.
Yeah, try
I was
that
like,
in
come on.
Australia.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, Dan, that was a interesting discussion about creating a market that doesn't exist in your area. So that is like when people now call me and ask me for my advice, I always say, here's the only thing I can tell you: get started. But now, if people say, well, that will never work out here because that market doesn't exist, I would say, well, I agree with you. So go develop that market.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's good advice. Good advice
Yeah.
with not even
It's
asking
true.
for your advice. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, go drive around and you can see these houses with these fireplaces and these big brick rock fireplaces, going up the side of the house. And there's no smoke coming out of them. There's a clue.
Right.
Yeah, and those are the people that don't want a cord and two cords stacked on the side of their house. They would just like maybe a sixth or a quarter stacked inside their garage. Yeah.
Yep.
So go find them and take care of them, and word will quickly spread. And the next thing you know, you'll be on your way.
There you go. Speaking of being on your way, I got to get on my
Yeah.
way because I got to pack and I've got a bunch of loose ends to tie up around here. And then I need to come on down to the great state of Ohio.
Oh, wow. Is there a way maybe I can get you to stop by the wood yard and say hi or stack a cord or anything like that?
I don't know about stacking, but I'm planning on swinging by uh, and seeing you at some
Okay.
point. Coming and checking out the yard.
Yeah, so we're going to have All Roads Lead to Ohio, but we cannot have it on Friday morning, which has been our past practice. So we are looking at having All Roads Lead to Ohio live stream on a different evening. We're maybe looking at Thursday evening,
Yes.
but we're asking everyone to be flexible here. If we can make it happen Thursday evening.
That'll be good. Yeah, stay tuned to your notifications and keep an eye out because the all roads lead to Ohio. We just don't know which road we're going to be on.
Yeah. Hey, a couple other things. Did you happen to see the big charitable event put on by York Firewood?
Yes. The record setting
Let's
number of cords split in a day.
That was awesome, wasn't it?
Yes. Amazing.
For
A lot
everyone
of
that
work.
was involved. And yeah. And special mention to Ken and his son Danny for putting that on. Oh boy. That kind of stuff makes me proud to be a member of the Woodhound community. That was something.
Yeah. And they're planning it again for next year. So they might top the 50, I think it was like 54 cords they figured.
Oh,
I don't know.
holy
Just
cow.
crazy amount.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that. I thought that was awesome. So good job to Ken and Danny and all of the guys and gals out there who put their time in, all for a great cause. That was special.
Yes, it was. And you'll probably be able to see a few of those guys. I know Ken, I think, is going to be at Bunyan and a bunch of the other guys that were there. So we'll see
All right.
everyone down at Paul Bunyan this weekend,
Yeah.
October 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Yeah. And you won't need to bring boots this year. It looks like it.
Don't say that yet.
Yeah. All right, Dan. Well, how about this? Let's strike up the band and let's head on down the road to Cambridge, Ohio.
Sounds good. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to the Woodhounds, the number one firewood podcast in the world. And we'll see you either at Bunyan or we'll be talking about it here next week.
That's right. And let's tell everyone out there to stay
safe.
Travel to
Ohio
for the
Paul Bunyan Show.
And have
a great day.